My daughter and my son's wife told me, "You don't need money anymore." That's when I knew something was wrong. Those were the exact words I heard that afternoon. I was sitting at the edge of my bed, my hands shaking a little as I counted the small notes in my old brown purse. I liked to count my money. It was not much, but it made me feel safe. It reminded me that I was still in control of something in my life. The window was open, and the sun came in through the thin curtains. Somewhere outside, a dog barked. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then my bedroom door opened, and my daughter, Lily, walked in with my son's wife, Emma. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were not. They did not look like they came to hug me or ask how I was doing. They looked like people who had already made a decision. "Mom," Lily said, sitting on the chair near my bed. "We need to talk to you." I smiled. "Talk then. I am not going anywhere." Emma came closer and sat on the other side of the bed. She forced a small smile, but I saw that her hands were tight together. Her knuckles were white. "What is it?" I asked. I closed my purse slowly. Something inside my chest felt heavy, like a stone. Lily cleared her throat. "Mom, we have been thinking a lot. About you. About your age. About your future." I laughed a little. "My future? I am 81. My future is just one long nap." They did not laugh. That is when I started to feel cold. Emma spoke next. "We know you worry about money all the time. You always count and hide it. Under the mattress, inside the Bible, in old jars. We know all your places." My heart jumped. How did they know that? "I only save what I can," I said softly. "I do not want to disturb you with my needs. If I have my own money, I can buy my medicine. I can buy soap. I can buy my biscuits." Lily leaned forward and took my hand. Her grip was tight. Too tight. "Mom, listen. You do not need money anymore." I pulled my hand back and stared at her. "What did you say? You do not need money anymore," she repeated, slower this time, like she was talking to a child. "You are old. You will not be here forever. Why are you still holding on to money like this?" Emma added quietly, "You will not need money in heaven." Heaven. The word floated in the air like smoke from a fire I could not see yet. My ears began to ring. "You are talking like I am dying tomorrow," I said, trying to smile, but my lips were stiff. They exchanged a look that did not belong to children talking to their mother. It looked like two strangers sharing a secret. "Mom," Lily said, "give us your money. All of it. We will take care of everything. You do not have to worry anymore." My throat went dry. I felt the purse in my hand, the old leather warm from my fingers. That purse held all my savings from my pension and small gifts from neighbors. It was my little world. "Why now?" I asked. "You never asked before." Emma looked down for a moment, then said, "Things are hard. Bills are high. We pay for your food, your light, your medicine. We are not saying you are a problem, but your money is just sitting there doing nothing. You will not need it soon. We could use it now." The room started to spin slowly. I looked at my daughter's eyes. She used to run to me with scraped knees and muddy shoes, crying, "Mommy, Mommy." I fell. Now she was looking at me like I was a bank that needed to be closed. "You think I will die soon," I whispered. There was a long silence. "We are just being realistic," Lily said. "Please do not make this difficult." Realistic. It was then, at that exact moment, that something inside me woke up. It was like someone lit a small candle in a deep dark cave inside my heart. I suddenly remembered the way they had been whispering in the kitchen for weeks. The way they stopped talking when I walked in. The way my son, Mark, had started avoiding long talks with me. The way my medicine sometimes ran out before it should. My daughter and my son's wife told me, "You don't need money anymore." That's when I knew something was wrong. I knew this was not just about money. It was about me, my life, my place in this house. I held my purse tighter and slowly pushed myself up from the bed. My legs shook a little, but I stood anyway. I looked both of them in the eye. "What are you planning for me?" I asked. Lily blinked. "Mom, why are you talking like that?" Emma looked away. "What are you planning for me?" I repeated, my voice stronger this time. Lily sighed, like she was tired. "Nothing bad. We just think it is time for you to stop worrying." You will not need money where you are going. We just want you to rest. Where am I going? I asked. No one answered. Outside, the dog barked again. A car passed by, but inside that room, it felt like the world had stopped. Then I saw it. On the bedside table, a white envelope with my name on it. I had not seen it when they walked in. Maybe they put it there. Maybe it had been there before and I was too busy counting my coins. I picked it up with trembling fingers. There was a hospital logo at the top. Mom, you do not need to read that now, Lily said quickly. But I opened the envelope anyway. My eyes are not very strong, but fear made them sharp. I saw my name. I saw the word, assessment. I saw the words, end-of-life care. I saw a date for a meeting that I did not know about. My head felt light. My knees weakened. They had talked about my future with a doctor. Without me. End-of-life care, I read out loud. My voice sounded far away. Lily bit her lip. Mom, please listen. It is just a plan. You know, in case things get worse. We want to be ready. Ready for what? I cried. Ready for me to die. Ready to put me somewhere. I felt my chest tighten. I could not breathe well. I sat back on the bed, holding the paper in one hand and my purse in the other. You already decided, I whispered. You decided something about me. Emma moved closer and tried to touch my shoulder, but I pulled away. Mom, you are making this bigger than it is, she said. We love you. We just do not want you to stress about money anymore. Love. If this was love, why did it feel like they were standing on my chest? Why did it feel like they were closing a door and locking it from the outside? In that moment, a cold, sharp thought cut through my fear. What if my money was the last thing keeping me safe? What if, without it, I could be sent anywhere, put anywhere, treated anyhow? Suddenly, the highs and lows of my long life flashed through my mind. The day I buried my husband. The day my son was born. The night I slept hungry so my children could eat. All the times I worked 2 jobs just to keep them in school. And now they were saying, you do not need money anymore. No, something was very wrong. I straightened my back slowly and folded the paper. I put it inside my purse with the money and held it close to my chest. I am not giving you my money, I said quietly. Not today. Lily's face changed. The soft look disappeared. Her eyes turned hard. Mom, do not be selfish, she snapped. We are all struggling here. Selfish, I repeated. The word hurt more than a slap. Emma grabbed her arm. Lily, calm down. But Lily was not calm anymore. You sit here doing nothing, counting money you will never use, while we pay all the bills. Do you think that is fair? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I wanted to tell her about all the years I worked for them. I wanted to remind her who held her when she was sick, who paid for her books, who prayed for her every night. But my voice was stuck. I am not giving you my money, I said again, my voice shaking. Something is wrong here, and I will find out what it is. They both stared at me. For a moment, I thought they might shout. Or snatch the purse from my hands. Or walk out and leave me alone. But none of that happened. Instead, Lily slowly smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was the kind of smile that made my skin crawl. Fine, Mom, she said softly. Keep your money. Hold it tight. Emma looked at her, confused. Lily. Lily turned to her and said, still watching me, it is okay. She will not need it for long anyway. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean by that? I asked. Lily walked to the door and opened it. Before she stepped out, she turned and looked at me with eyes that did not belong to the little girl I raised. You will see, Mom, she said. Things will change soon. Emma followed her, but as she left, she glanced back at me with a mix of guilt and fear in her eyes. The door closed. I was alone. The house was quiet again, but it was not the same quiet. This quiet felt like it was hiding something. Like someone was holding their breath behind the walls. I sat there, clutching my purse, the envelope pressing against my chest. My heart beat fast. I could hear it in my ears. I whispered to myself, Lord, what are they planning? Then, from the hallway, I heard it. A low voice. A man's voice. My son's voice. Mark had come home without me hearing him. I heard Lily say, in a sharp whisper, she refused. She will not give us the money. And then I heard Mark answer, his voice colder than I had ever heard it in my life. Then we will have to do it the hard way. My blood ran cold. My hand tightened on the purse until my fingers hurt. What did he mean by the hard way? In that moment, I realized I might not just be fighting for my money. I might be fighting for my life. I sat frozen on the bed, clutching my purse and trying to stop my hands from shaking. The words I heard from the hallway echoed in my head like thunder that refused to stop. Then we will have to do it the hard way. My own son had said that. My Mark. The boy who used to cry when he lost his toy train. The man who held my hand at my husband's funeral so I wouldn't fall apart. Now he was saying something that made my heart feel like it was wrapped in ice. For a moment, I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. My whole body felt tight, like a drum pulled too hard. The quiet house suddenly felt dangerous, like I was sitting in the middle of a forest full of unseen animals waiting to pounce. I heard them whispering. Their voices were soft, but the walls in this old house were thin. I leaned forward slightly, careful not to make the bed creak. "We can't keep waiting," Lily whispered. "Mom is getting stubborn. She doesn't understand how serious things are." "She understands enough," Mark said. "She knows something is going on. That's the problem." I felt the cold air on my skin. They were plotting something they didn't want me to know. Emma's voice came next. "Maybe we should just talk to her again. Calmly this time. If she trusts us." "She won't trust us," Mark cut in. "She's scared now. And once she's scared, she'll tell people. You know how old folks talk." "Talk to who?" I wondered. Who would I even tell? I didn't have many friends left. Most of them were either gone or too old to visit. Lily let out a frustrated sigh. "We need her money. That's all. Why is she making it so hard?" My heart tightened again. Was I really hearing my own children talk like this? Money, money, money. That was all they cared about. I remembered all the times I stayed up late sewing clothes for them. I remembered how I skipped meals so they could eat better. I remembered when I used the last bit of my savings to pay for Mark's job training program because he said it would change his life. I never asked for anything back. Not once. Not even £1, not £1. And now they were saying they should take everything I had left. Suddenly I felt a rise in my chest, not sadness, not fear, but something hotter. Something sharp. Anger. But then I heard footsteps. They were coming back toward my room. My anger melted into panic. I scrambled quickly to hide the envelope under my pillow. I stuffed my purse behind me, covered partly by my gown. Just in time. The door opened. Mark stepped in first. He was tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of man people would expect to protect his mother. But right now, he looked like someone who could push me into a corner if I disagreed with him. "Mom," he said, forcing a smile. "We want to talk to you." I looked at him carefully. His smile was the kind you wear when you're thinking something different inside. Lily and Emma came in behind him. They all looked too calm. Too quiet. Like people who had practiced what they were going to say. "What do you want to talk about?" I asked slowly. Lily sat beside me on the bed again. She placed her hand gently on my shoulder. "Mom, we know you're worried," she said softly. "But we're a family. Family helps each other. Is that what this is?" I asked. "Helping." "Yes," Mark answered quickly, before Lily could speak again. "And you're making things harder than they need to be. We're not trying to hurt you." I raised my eyes to him. "Then why were you whispering? Why did you say, the hard way?" All three of them froze for a second. Just 1 second. But it was enough. They knew I heard everything. Lily forced a laugh. "Mom, you misunderstood. We were talking about something else." "What else?" I asked. No one answered. The air in the room felt heavy, like it was pressing down on my chest. Mark finally sighed. "Okay, Mom, let's be honest. Things are very bad financially. Very bad. You know my business is not doing well. Emma lost her job. And Lily's rent increased by almost 50%. We've been taking care of everything for you. The food, the pills, the utilities, everything." I nodded slowly. "And I'm grateful, truly. But why do you need my money so urgently?" Mark rubbed his forehead, frustrated. "Because we're drowning. And you're just sitting on money you don't use. It is my money, I said quietly. Yes, Lily cut in sharply, her voice cracking with irritation. And soon you won't be around to use it anyway. I felt that one like a slap. Emma whispered, Lily, trying to calm her. But Lily's emotions were bubbling too close to the surface. You're old, Mom, Lily continued. We needed money for Mark's loan payment. And for some things at home. And what? I asked. Silence. Then Mark stepped closer, towering over the bed. Mom, listen. We are not asking. We are telling you. Give us the money. We will handle everything for you. You won't need it. My voice trembled. And what if I refuse again? The room went cold. Lily looked at Mark. Emma looked at the floor. Mark's jaw clenched the way it did when he was angry. Mom, he said slowly, don't make us do something you will not like. My heart pounded. What does that mean? He leaned down, too close to my face. If you don't give us the money, we will move you out of this house and put you in a care home. Somewhere far, somewhere cheap, somewhere you can't complain. A gasp escaped my mouth before I could stop it. A care home, a cheap one, away from everything I knew. No, I whispered. No, Mark, don't do that to me. He straightened up. Then give us the money. For a moment, we all stood there in silence. My chest felt tight, my throat was dry, but my mind was racing. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about power, control, and the scary truth that the people you love the most can change into strangers you no longer recognize. I looked at each of them one by one. Lily, Emma, Mark. They waited for my answer. But before I could speak, something unexpected happened. Something that none of us planned. From the hallway, we suddenly heard the front door open loudly. A voice shouted, "Hello? Anybody home?" I knew that voice. My heart jumped. It was Daniel, my late sister's son, my nephew who visited me every few weeks. The one person who always checked up on me without asking for anything. His unexpected arrival made Lily's eyes widen. Mark's face tensed. Emma's hands began to tremble slightly. Daniel entered my room doorway holding 2 bags of groceries. He froze when he saw the tension in the room. His eyes went from their faces, to mine, then to Mark's clenched fists. What's going on here? Daniel asked, suspicion dripping from every word. I opened my mouth to answer. But before I could say anything, Mark turned sharply toward him, his voice colder than ice. This is none of your business, Daniel. Daniel stepped inside the room slowly, placing the grocery bags on the floor. He looked straight at Mark. Then at Lily. Then at Emma. Then he looked at me. And his face changed completely. From confusion, to shock, to anger. Auntie, he said softly, why are you crying? I didn't even realize tears were rolling down my face. Before I could wipe them, Daniel stepped closer. And something inside Mark snapped. He shoved Daniel hard in the chest. Daniel stumbled back, nearly hitting the wall. And that was the moment everything exploded into chaos. Daniel steadied himself against the wall, his eyes widening in disbelief. Mark had never touched him like that before. Not even when they argued as boys. The room went silent, like the air had been pulled out, leaving only the sound of my quick, frightened breathing. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The tension felt heavy enough to crush the floor. Then Daniel straightened up slowly. His face didn't show fear. It showed something much stronger, determination. Mark, he said, voice calm but thick with warning, you don't raise your hand at me. And you especially don't do that in front of your mother. She's my mother, not yours, Mark snapped. Daniel stepped closer, eyes locked on his. Right. And that's why I can't stand here while you threaten her. Mark scoffed, but I could see the anger growing in him like a storm cloud. Lily grabbed Mark's arm quickly, trying to pull him back. But Mark jerked his arm away. Enough, Mark growled. This is family business. You don't get to walk in here and pretend you're the hero. Daniel glanced at me again. My hands were shaking. I clutched the bed sheets like they were the only thing keeping me alive. My lips trembled as I whispered, Daniel, please don't leave me. That one sentence changed his whole expression. The softness in his face turned into a hard, protective look. He turned to Mark again. What have you been doing to her? Daniel asked quietly. Lily rushed to answer. Nothing. Daniel, don't start. She's just confused. She's old. She doesn't understand what's going on. Daniel's jaw tightened. I heard enough from the hallway to know she understands perfectly. Mark stepped forward. What exactly did you hear? That you want to do something the hard way, Daniel said. And unless you're talking about washing dishes, that sounds like a threat. Emma swallowed hard and looked away. She wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. Mark sneered. Don't twist things, Daniel. You always think the worst. Daniel didn't flinch. If the worst fits, then I'm not the one who put it there. Lily folded her arms. You are making this worse. We are taking care of Mom. We have every right to make decisions on her behalf. Decisions like forcing her to hand over her money. Daniel shot back. Or sending her to a cheap care home without telling her. My chest tightened. They all turned to stare at me. I hadn't expected Daniel to know about the envelope. But he didn't know. He guessed. And he guessed right. Lily's voice cracked. Mom, did you tell him something? No, I said quickly. I didn't speak to him. He just knows. Because he pays attention. Daniel stepped closer to me, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. Auntie, tell me the truth. Did they threaten you? Before I could speak, Mark shouted, this is ridiculous. Daniel, get out of this house. No, Daniel replied calmly. Not until she tells me what's happening. Lily took a step forward, anger burning in her eyes. Daniel, you don't live here. You don't help us pay anything. You don't clean. You don't cook. You don't buy medicine. You don't get to decide how we handle things. Daniel pointed at my trembling hands. If you were handling things right, she wouldn't look like this. Emma whispered, barely audible, please stop, all of you, but no one heard her. Mark suddenly grabbed my purse from behind me. He snatched it with one strong pull. Stop, I screamed, trying to reach for it, but he held it high. Inside that purse was everything I had left. My savings, my secret documents, my ID, my little life. Daniel's face changed instantly. His voice dropped into something cold and dangerous. Put the purse down. Mark smirked. Or what? Daniel stepped toward him slowly. Or you will regret it. Mark laughed. You think you can scare me? Daniel didn't blink. No, but I can stop you. Mark tightened his grip on the purse. This money belongs to all of us. She won't listen, so I'm taking charge. You're stealing, Daniel said. You're calling me a thief. If you take something that isn't yours, what do you want me to call you? Mark's breathing grew heavy. His chest rose and fell quickly. I have had enough. Before anyone could react, he shoved Daniel again, harder this time. Daniel stumbled backward, knocked into the small table by the door, and it crashed to the floor. The sound echoed through the whole house. Wood breaking, glass falling, my heart almost stopping. Mark, stop, I cried. But my son wasn't listening. His face twisted with anger, and he lifted his hand again. This time not toward Daniel, but toward me. I saw his arm rising. I saw the rage in his eyes. I saw Lily staring in horror. I saw Emma covering her mouth. And I knew, if that hand came down, everything would change forever. But before he could hit me, Daniel lunged forward with a shout. He grabbed Mark's arm in midair and twisted it back, pushing him against the wall. Mark screamed in pain. The purse fell to the floor. Emma shrieked. Lily gasped. And I covered my face and began to cry. Daniel held Mark there, breathing hard. If you ever raise your hand at her again, I will make sure you don't get another chance. Mark struggled, furious, but Daniel's grip was stronger. The house shook with shouting. Footsteps. Crying. Panic. Fear. Then something happened that none of us saw coming. From outside, a loud knock slammed on the front door. Then another. Then another. Someone shouted from the porch, open up. Is everything okay in there? Voices. More than one. Multiple voices. Daniel froze. Mark stopped struggling. Lily and Emma stared at the door with wide, fearful eyes. Someone had heard the shouting. Someone outside knew something was wrong. Someone had called for help. But who was at the door? A neighbor. Police. A stranger. Someone who had been watching. Before anyone could speak, the knocking grew louder. More urgent. Almost like someone was trying to break the door down. And then a deep voice called out. This is the police, open the door now. Everything in the room exploded into panic. Emma screamed. Lily grabbed Mark. Daniel's grip tightened. I felt my heart leap into my throat. The moment the police banged on the door, the whole house froze. It was as if time held its breath. No one moved. No one made a sound. Even the air felt stiff, like it was waiting to see what would happen next. Mark stared at the door with fear in his eyes. Not anger. Not frustration. Real fear. The kind a person feels when they know they've crossed a line they can't hide anymore. Lily's hands flew to her mouth. Emma burst into tears. Daniel slowly released his grip on Mark, but he stayed close, watching him carefully. Another loud knock shook the walls. "This is the police. Open the door immediately." My heart raced so hard I thought it would break my ribs. I looked around the room, my family, the people I brought into the world and raised with love, now acting like strangers caught in their own trap. Mark whispered harshly, "Nobody talks. Nobody says anything stupid. We'll say it was a misunderstanding." Daniel shot him a sharp look. "No, you don't get to lie about this. Stay out of it, Daniel." Mark barked. But the shouting was cut short as the police knocked again, harder this time. "If you don't open this door, we will force entry." Panic flashed across Lily's face. "Mark, do something." Mark shook his head wildly. Okay, just be quiet." He hurried toward the door. "Mark," I whispered, "don't make things worse." He paused but didn't look at me. Instead, he took a deep breath, forced a smile, and opened the front door. Two officers stepped inside immediately, one tall with a stern face, one younger but alert. Their eyes scanned the house quickly, as if they had been trained to see danger even in silence. "Good afternoon," the older officer said. "We received a noise complaint from your neighbor." They heard shouting and a loud crash. "Is everyone safe here?" Mark put on the fakest smile I had ever seen. "Yes, officer. Everything's fine. Just a small family argument. Nothing serious." The younger officer glanced behind him into the living room, then up the hallway, straight toward my room. "Sir, we need to verify that." "Where is everyone else?" "Just in the back," Mark replied quickly. "I can bring them out." "No," the officer said firmly. "We'll see for ourselves." Daniel stepped into the hallway, crossing his arms. "Officers, I'm here." The older officer nodded at him, then looked past him and spotted me sitting on the bed. My hands were shaking. My eyes were red. My purse lay on the floor. He exchanged a glance with the younger officer, one of those silent looks that says, "Something is wrong here." "Ma'am," the younger officer said gently, "are you all right? Did someone hurt you?" Before I could speak, Lily rushed forward. "She's fine. Officers, please, it was just a loud conversation. She gets emotional easily. She cries a lot." The older officer ignored her completely. "Ma'am," he asked me again, "do you feel safe?" The room fell silent. Everyone stared at me. Even Daniel didn't speak. My throat tightened. I looked at my hands, then at Mark, Lily, Emma. And I remembered the hand raised toward my face. I remembered the envelope about end-of-life care. I remembered hearing, "We will have to do it the hard way." I remembered the purse snatched from my hands. Everything inside me trembled, not from fear, but from something deeper. A quiet truth. A painful truth. A truth I could no longer deny. So I looked up at the officer. Opened my mouth. And nothing came out. Not a single word. My voice had disappeared like someone had stolen it from my throat. I felt my chest rise and fall faster. The officers waited. Daniel stepped closer, softly whispering, "Auntie, say something." I swallowed hard. Tried again. And finally a few words escaped. They want my money." The officers exchanged another quick look, this one sharper. Mark exploded. "Mom, don't lie." "Enough," the older officer said sharply. Everyone calm down. Lily burst out crying suddenly, falling to her knees. "She doesn't understand. She's old. She's confused. She thinks we're trying to hurt her, but we're just trying to manage things." Emma sobbed quietly behind her. The young officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, do you believe someone in this house is trying to force you to give up your money?" I looked at Mark. His jaw was tight. His fist still clenched. His body stiff like someone ready to fight. I looked at Lily. She cried loudly, but her eyes darted between me and the officers with fear. I looked at Emma. She avoided my eyes completely. Then I looked at Daniel. His face was calm, steady, quietly waiting for me to speak. I whispered, yes. The word slipped out like a small drop of water, but it shook the room like thunder. Mark immediately shouted, she's lying. Daniel filled her head with nonsense. She's sick. She doesn't know what she's saying. I'm not sick, I said, louder this time. I'm scared. The officer's eyes hardened. The situation shifted instantly. Sir, the older officer told Mark, you need to step aside. Now. No, Mark said, stepping forward, no, you don't understand, she. The officers both moved at once. The younger officer gently guided me to stand. The older officer placed a hand on his belt. Sir, step back, he repeated, or you will be detained for obstruction. Mark breathed heavily, eyes wild. No, I'm not letting you take her. She belongs here. She's my mother, and I am still alive. I shouted suddenly, and you don't get to decide everything for me. Everyone went silent, even Mark. My voice had come back, loud and clear. The younger officer helped me sit on a chair near the door so I could breathe. Ma'am, he said softly, do you want to stay in this house right now? I looked around. At the broken table. At the purse on the floor. At the family who wanted my money more than my presence. At the nephew who had become the only light in the room. I closed my eyes for a moment. Then I whispered, no. Daniel exhaled a breath he had been holding for minutes. Emma covered her face and began sobbing harder. Lily looked like she wanted to faint. Mark's expression turned from shock, to anger, to something darker. The older officer stepped toward him. Sir, you need to calm down. Right now. Mark shook his head, fists trembling. No, no, she's not leaving. She can't leave. She doesn't get to walk out and ruin everything. Mark, stop, Lily cried. But he didn't. He lunged forward, toward me, and Daniel blocked him with both arms. The officers grabbed Mark instantly. He fought. He shouted. He kicked. He tried to break free. But two trained officers were stronger. They forced his arms behind his back. And with one loud click, handcuffs locked around his wrists. Lily screamed his name. Emma fell to her knees. My heart felt like it was breaking and healing at the same time. The older officer said, Mark Johnson, you are being detained for attempted assault and threatening behavior. You have the right to remain silent. Daniel placed his hand on my shoulder again. I leaned on him, suddenly tired. Tired of everything. As the officers pushed Mark toward the door, he twisted his head and shouted one last sentence. A sentence that froze my soul. This isn't over, Mom. You'll regret this. The officers dragged him outside. The door slammed shut behind them. The house fell silent again. A different kind of silence. A heavy one. A dangerous one. Because even though Mark was gone, I knew the worst was not over. The house felt emptier after the police took Mark away, but the fear he left behind still hung in the air. Lily sat on the floor crying softly, and Emma had moved to a corner of the room, her face buried in her hands. Daniel stayed beside me, steady like a tree that would not break no matter how strong the wind blew. The officers had asked if I wanted to press charges. I said no, but I did want space. I wanted to breathe. I wanted to think again without fear sitting on my chest. Once the patrol car drove away, Daniel helped me into the living room. I sank into the old brown sofa slowly, my hands trembling from everything that had just happened. My purse sat on my lap like a small shield. There was silence in the room. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind, the kind that comes after a storm when everyone knows the damage has already been done. Emma spoke first, her voice thin. I am so sorry. I looked at her. Her eyes were swollen and red. Did you know what he planned? I asked. She shook her head. No. I knew he wanted your money, but I did not know he would raise his hand at you. I swear. I believed her. There was a sadness in her eyes that did not look like someone pretending. Lily stood up slowly and wiped her face. Mom, I know I hurt you. I let my fear push me into something ugly. What fear? I asked quietly. She swallowed hard. Debt, bills, pressure, and jealousy too. Jealousy, I repeated. Yes, she whispered. You always trusted Daniel more than us. You always smiled when he visited. We felt like strangers in your life. My heart softened a little. You were my children. You could never be strangers. But that is how it felt, Lily said. We were drowning in problems and we convinced ourselves that taking your money was the only way to fix things. You forgot the difference between needing help and forcing it, I replied. Lily nodded and began to cry again. I am sorry, Mom. Truly. Daniel did not speak. He just stood quietly, watching everything, making sure I felt safe. I reached out and touched his arm. Thank you for coming today, I said. If you had not walked in when you did. He shook his head. Do not think about that. I will not let anyone harm you. The house felt too small now, too full of memories mixed with fear. I could not stay here another night. I knew that as clearly as I knew my own name. Daniel, I said, I want to leave. Right now, he asked. Yes, I cannot stay here. Lily stepped closer, panic rising in her eyes. Mom, please, do not leave us. I looked at her kindly but firmly. I need peace. I need time. You need time too. She nodded slowly, accepting the truth even though it hurt. Emma whispered, where will you go? Daniel answered before I could. She will stay with me. For as long as she wants. I felt relief wash over me. A warm, safe feeling that touched the parts of my heart that had been trembling all day. I want that, I said softly. Lily's lips quivered. Can we visit you? When I am ready, I replied. And they understood. Daniel helped me pack a few clothes, my medicine, and my important papers. I placed my purse carefully into my bag. As we moved through the house, every room felt different. Every corner reminded me of how quickly love can turn into something dangerous when fear and greed grow inside it. Inside my bedroom, I paused for a moment. The quiet felt heavy. This room had held the worst moment of my life. But it would not hold me anymore. As we walked out through the living room, Lily held my hand. Mom, I am sorry, she said again. I will change. I promise. I squeezed her hand gently. You must learn that love is not about taking. It is about protecting. She nodded with tears rolling down her cheeks. Emma stepped forward too. I will do better. I should have spoken sooner. You can still make things right, I said. But you must choose the right path this time. Then Daniel opened the door, and sunlight spilled into the room. For a moment, it felt like the house itself exhaled. I stepped out slowly, leaning on Daniel. Behind us, Lily and Emma stood silently, watching, ashamed and hopeful at the same time. We walked to Daniel's car. The street was quiet. The air felt lighter. As he opened the passenger door for me, I paused and turned back to look at the house one last time. A home is supposed to be safe. A place of warmth. But safety is not made by walls. It is made by hearts. And the hearts in that house had lost their way for a while. I sat inside the car. Daniel started the engine. As we drove off, I whispered a small prayer. A prayer for healing. A prayer for courage. A prayer for wisdom. Not only for myself, but for the people I still loved even after everything they had done. A gentle peace settled in my chest. I survived. I spoke up. I walked away. And even though the road ahead was uncertain, I felt stronger than I had felt in years. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes as the house disappeared behind us. The lesson was clear. People may change. Love may bend. But you must protect your own life. Your voice matters. Your safety matters. And it is never too late to stand up for yourself. As the car carried me toward a new beginning, I let out a long breath and whispered the final thought sitting in my heart. I choose peace now.